During the opening minutes of this podcast, we experienced a few technical difficulties. We'd like to apologise in advance for any inconsistencies. The audio quality is also not quite as high as we'd like, but we're currently working on a solution to help improve that for future recordings. Part of what was lost during the call drops and technical difficulties was me thanking our sponsor 500 Pixels for their ongoing support with the V3 Photo Challenge. The winner of this brief, as chosen by Rob, will win a year's subscription to an awesome account on 500 Pixels, valued at $75. This will allow them to upload unlimited photographs, have unlimited sets, see advanced statistics, and even have a personalized portfolio and custom domain support, meaning that they can use their 500 pixel account basically as their own website. It's a pretty cool prize, and we're very proud to be giving it away. So, on with the recording. Welcome to the V3 wrap for challenge number 2, Panning and Movement. I am Peter Bauer, and with me we have our guest judge, Rob Cianflone. How are you doing?
Good, yeah, good, thank you. Good evening.
You've been a very busy man lately.
Yeah, it's always busy for us. Sport photography business is now, pretty much 7 days a week, 24 hours a day now, with all the sporting bodies having their sports at different nights of the week, whether it be soccer or football or netball, so on.
Yeah, I'd imagine with Getty you'd be bouncing all around the world quite a lot.
It's been pretty busy. Just in the last sort of like 6-7 weeks, it's been with the Under-20 World Cup in New Zealand, the Football World Cup. There's been the Women's World Cup in Canada, and the first ever European Games in Baku. So we had staff all over the place working flat out. And on top of that, there's our local, all domestic stuff, the AFL and the rugby and so on that's going on as well.
I'd imagine sports photography would be a rather large business for Getty these days.
Yeah, it's a big part of their business. Obviously, they have a lot of clients that they look after in official capacities for governing bodies. So that alone is a big task. It requires quite a fair bit of coverage. There's always a brief for big clients. So on top of that, and then we have just all the other sport events that happen locally, internationally.
But just out of interest, what would be your favourite sport to shoot?
It's a toss-up between motorsport and soccer for me. It's sort of two of my favourites, and then cricket will be a close third. On that one.
Nice. Yeah. You definitely got some of the best cricket and motorsports in Australia. Yeah, the A-League's, pretty damn solid competition these days too.
It's getting better, yeah. It's definitely getting better, the A-League, compared to where it was at the begining.
Yeah, and I recall earlier in the year, was it this year that you're floating around with the Asian Cup?
January this year was the Asia Cup in Australia, which was the first time it was held here, so that kept us busy as well. Yeah, it was a very good result for the Aussies in the end.
Yeah, it was. It was actually rather amusing because one of our photos in the 52 competition was taken during one of the Australian finals.
Right.
And me and Simon and Kevin were all discussing about, one of those little photographers down there in those orange jackets would have to be Rob.
Yes, I was there.
Floating around. Oh, well, do you want to get into it? And let's start discussing some of our great panning and movement shots that we received from various photographers around the world.
Yep.
First up, we have a great rally shot taken here by Andreas Sonis.
Yeah, it's actually quite a nice shot. It's quite well exposed, and you can see the movement in the front wheel as it spins, as it's sliding through the corner there, and the background's got just enough movement to give it that interest. If it had been shot at over 1,000th of a second or so, it would have been just a car stand there. Or as we say, when we shoot motorsport, if you freeze the car like that, we just call it a parked car.
Yeah.
So you sort of want to always give it movement, and that's actually got it all happening there.
Yeah, it definitely does. I really love when the dust kicking up as the car's sliding around. It's really
definitely
cool effect.
Yeah, it definitely works.
And same photographer again with the second image. We have a little bit of selective colour, which is a very interesting choice.
Yeah, notice that. Yeah, we kept the roof green there, and everything else is black and white, which it still works as a picture. And there's movement in the wheels, and the sort of the dust pattern following the cars is coming around the corner there. By the looks of it, yeah, so it's still an interesting picture.
I guess
it's not frozen.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the really big things with panning is, keeping enough movement in the shot to portray that movement, but at the same time, keeping things solid enough and still enough to keep things in focus and interesting.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, if he'd panned it really much slower than that, and you probably start losing the effect of the dust in the background, it'd look as if he's just come straight across the frame rather than come swinging around that corner.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. Next, we have a little bit of roller derby here by Kirkham21.
Yeah, with that one, there's not enough movement to sort of clear up the background. So you sort of got that like a whiteboard or something there in the background that sort of distracts from the eye, and that little white box on the bottom left on the floor there, and just people in the background sort of standing around. So for something like that, you want to get as slow as you can and really blur out that background so it's not as messy and not distracting from the main subject.
Yeah, it's. I must admit, I attempted the panning and movement brief myself, because when you set this challenge, I was completely stumped, because I've never attempted it, and I went out and I tried like 5, 6, 7 different sessions, and I never captured anything that was interesting. It was always just a complete blurred mess, or it was just too still. And I really struggled. I'm curious, like, how often do you use this technique with on the sidelines in sports photography?
I probably pan almost every week, to be honest. At least once a week, I try and do something with panning. So, for example, I use a Canon 1DX, and on the camera there's a function that's a recall button. So I have my panning set on the recall button. So when I'm shooting the match, if a player in the AFL, for example, just bursts out of the pack and makes a run down the field, I can just hit that button, and my pan set, the exposure set, I don't have to muck around with dials, and just get the guy panning, and then just go back to shooting the action, freezing the action once that sort of burst of action is over. Yeah, once I have that button set up, I pretty much use it set up differently for every sport, and it becomes my panning button. So
very nice.
So if something happens, I just go straight back to the action and not miss anything. Yeah, so it really helps to sort of understand your camera as well when you're panning, and just practice. Just got to practice that technique over and over and over, and until you start to get something out of it, and then you sort of understand balancing your camera and your position of your body and what works best for you.
Yeah, I guess panning and capturing panning shots. So often you hear the catchphrase, it's not the camera, it's the photographer.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess in some circumstances, the same as like low light photography with concert photography, the camera does make a big difference quite often. Like you couldn't really get a solid, effective panning shot with an iPhone, for example.
No. There is an app that gives you the panning look, but it's not actually a proper pan. So
yeah.
But yeah, no. I prefer to do it all in camera. You have it sharp and everything in there, and that's it. So, but like I said, it does take time and patience and practice. And once you know how you get the best balance for the lens and camera you're using, you'll get a better feel for it and start getting better results.
Moving on here, we have a great motocross shot here by Ronnie.
Yeah, I think it's a MotoGP shot. It looks like it's coming under a bridge or a tunnel. It's actually quite a nice shot, that one. There's plenty of movement and colour and all sorts of shapes going on there.
I love the effect of the light on the roof.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
Especially.
Yeah. So you got like I said, there's all shapes and colours going on there, and they're all sort of adding to the effect of the pan.
Yep, and the very front of that motorcycle seems to be captured perfectly still.
Yeah.
While the back of the motorbike seems to be blurring quite nicely too.
And it's also got a bit of space in the front, so it's going somewhere. Whereas if you crop that right up to the wheel, for example, you sort of lose that speed effect. Is that just where if you leave a bit of space in the front, you're sort of giving it somewhere to breathe or sort of to go.
Good little tip, that one. As you know, you have to lead the subject somewhere as well as just the leading lines into the subject. So
or if someone wants to use that picture and add type, there's space to add type, on either side of that, for example.
Yeah.
If it's in a magazine or a poster or something.
Particularly important for you with your line of work.
Definitely. Yeah.
Next, we have another motorsports car here by G-Mors. I'm not quite sure what kind of motorsport this is.
It's the sports car, Le Mans style sports car. And again, it's a nice, very nice, clean picture, that one. Cars, there's less space to front of that car, sort of lead it into the end of the frame there. Probably a little bit thin crop for my liking, but the actual panning technique is great. The whole car looks sharp. There's movement in the wheels in the background. It's clean, well exposed.
It's definitely a nice, smooth pan. I'm actually curious, when panning, do you recommend using a tripod or to get that nice, consistent, smooth, parallel pan, or are you a pure handheld?
Depending. If I'm using up to a 7200, I'll go handheld. And 200 to 400 and above, like 500, 600, it's always on a monopod. Yeah, a tripod's just too fiddly. you can't get that smooth action when you're following through with the tripod, I find. So everything's done on a monopod or handheld.
On the next page, we have one here by, I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name, but we have Srikanth Varma. I'm not sure if you'd be able to pronounce that nicer than me there, Rob.
Srikanth Varma.
Yeah, it's a great shot. I love the really interesting perspective here.
Yeah, it's different. It's sort of shot from above, I think, by the looks of it. So maybe up on, standing on a hill or a bridge or something.
Maybe an overhead bridge or something,
yeah. So it's actually not too bad. I probably would have liked to have seen the bike just a bit further down the back of the frame, but the lines and everything on the road actually add to the image, so it gives it that speed and nice panning look.
That image captured my attention straight away just because of the really different perspective. You don't see a lot of panning shots on a downward angle.
No,
like
especially
that.
on motorbikes. Any motorbike circuit, it's almost impossible. I think it's more of a safety issue these days.
Yep. It's a great shot. Next up, we have a little bit of go-kart racing here by Brian Walsh.
Yeah, actually, the padding on the go-kart's great. Just in my honest opinion, I would have probably cropped out the top of the those cars and trucks in the background and cropped up to the wall and just left the lines at the bottom, because if you sort of put your hand over it and get rid of those cars and trucks, those lines will give it more of an effect, a better effect, and a better looking picture.
Yeah, you're definitely right there. I'm just using my hand on my monitor right now. It kind of makes the go-kart stand out a lot more.
Yeah. If you would have cropped down to that wall and just a couple of inches behind that go-kart, it'd be a nice shape, and the lines, the red and white lines, would really make it, give it more impact.
In particular, I'm not sure if it's so much all of the cars in the background, but that bright red patch on the right-hand side is very distracting. Your eye kind of leads there.
Yeah, because it's more, I'm assuming that's like a marshal's tent or something there, but
But
ideally, you sort of want to get rid of all that and shoot down above the wall and just crop it in a bit, a much cleaner picture and have more impact.
Next image down, we have a little bit of aerosports here by Wally Lama.
Yeah, so that's quite different. Probably a little bit tight. I'd like to have seen more of the trees, or even the runway could have been left in there and shot a bit loose, get a bit more impact.
Do you think it needs more space behind and below, or more space in front?
Probably all around, to be honest. I'd like to just see a little bit more around, that way you would have seen a bit more movement.
Yep. It's definitely nice and crisp on the aeroplane.
Oh, definitely, yeah. That's what's good about it. But just a bit more space would have just given it a bit more impact.
Yeah. By the same photographer again, we have another one of a plane coming into land here by Wally Lama once again.
Probably again just a little bit tight on the propeller. Like he's done well getting the pilot sharp and the aircraft, and the propeller's got the movement as well. Normally if you're shooting panning aircraft with propellers, it can be really, really tough to get the whole thing sharp. It's because of all the movement that's going on. But he's done well there, to be honest.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
just maybe just a touch tight once again.
It's
kind of a shame at the top of the propeller's cut off. Yeah. And next we have for me, a spectacular shot here by Kevin D. Of a plane in full flight from above.
Yeah, it definitely is. That one caught my pretty much straight away when I saw that one. Just the colours, and he's got sort of the right amount of space all the way around, the smoke trailing behind. It looks pretty sharp to me on the screen here. So really well composed and captured image, that one.
I'm going to guess, in a plane as well, flying above.
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
But then again, it could be bridge, or maybe the plane's banking.
Yeah, it could be banking, past the forest or something, but yeah.
It's a really, really effective shot.
It definitely works, that one.
Next, this would have to be one of my favourite images, personally, here by a Grizzlier. It's an interesting combination of a candid street shot with panning and a bus. It's really quite effective.
Yeah, it's something different. Probably I would have seen a little bit more speed. Just coming through. But it's something different. Just a street scene, I'm assuming, or it could be like at an airport, bus pulling up. But it's different. I mean, the driver looks quite sharp there.
Yeah, I think there's a slight reflection in the glass of the bus, which is a little unfortunate because it's kind of hiding the bus driver's face. But the rest of the bus driver looks really sharp.
He does, yeah.
Just looking at it larger, there's just a slight reflection straight over his face, which is unfortunate. But not a lot you can do about that. But a really effective shot. I like the black and white processing on it.
Yeah,
too.
it looks so well done there.
Yeah, possibly a little bit more movement, capture a bit more of the motion.
Yeah,
So it would have been nice.
definitely.
We have a sidestep here from all the motorsports, and
Yep.
we got in a running shot here by Silverback.
Yeah, that one there is it's almost there. Like it's
Yep.
captured well in the face and the arms. Probably just the legs in the wrong position. But then again, when you're shooting an athlete running, it can be really hard to get everything perfect. To be honest,
Yep.
I don't always get it right either. It's just it just depends on how their bodies moving, how you're moving the camera along at the same time. So it's always just a little bit extra movement by the athlete, and they move their head, and you've lost the whole shot. But he's done pretty well there to capture it. I probably would have cropped out that white pole there in front of him and made it more of a vertical image just to get rid of that distraction. But otherwise, he's done pretty good to capture that, because normally when people are running, it can be hard to get them pretty sharp.
Yeah, I think that's another good little lesson there is, when you're taking a portrait or something of the like, you always watch your background. And I guess it's really tricky when you're panning because you've got a bigger background to take note of, because you've not only got the background where you start, but the background where you finish your pan.
Yeah.
So keeping that in mind through your whole shot, it would be tricky to try to alleviate those background distractions.
Yeah, because you sort of always got to watch your backgrounds too when you're panning, because you can get a really good background out of it, or it'll be just one little thing that will just take it away and make it messy or make it distracting. So, for example, that pole, that box there, whatever is on the left, has blurred out and become bigger.
Yeah, so, I dare say that's just a single street pole, because there's quite a lot of movement in this shot.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
That it's really interesting, actually, to note how much movement you can see from that pole, how much movement there is in that shot.
Oh, so. Exactly. So that's why I said if you just cropped that out, it would have been given it more of a better impact on the panning.
Yeah.
No matter as distracting, but he's done well there.
Next up, we have Black Qualis with a night shot of a plane landing in the airport.
Yeah, I think it's taken off. Is it taken off?
You could be right. It could be taken off.
Yeah, I actually like that one. Nice with the black at the bottom and the white, and the lights on top aren't too distracting, and the plane's just lit enough. Obviously at night at an airport, the runway isn't going to be overly lit, so and it looks quite sharp as well.
Yeah, the plane is definitely really crisp.
Yeah.
And there's quite a bit of movement, again, as you can see by the lights in the background.
Yeah, he's done well there. Especially for a 20th of a second, he's done really well.
And again, Black Qualis with his second panning shot at the airport.
Yeah, he's done well with it too, but I still think his first one was a better effort. The front wheels up, and it's a bit looser, and there's lights and colours.
Yeah, I think the first shot is just with the extra space around.
Yeah.
Really exemplifies that movement, that motion.
Yeah, it's really nice ambience with those lights. The yellow orange light there isn't too strong, and the other lights above it give it a good feel as well. We
have a speedboat here taking in Newcastle, my beautiful hometown of Newcastle, by Kirkham.
Is it your boat?
It's not my boat. I wish it was my boat. If I had money like that to spend on boats, I'd be a very happy man. It's
quite a sharp image, that one. It's very well captured. There's good movement throughout the whole frame, the water in the background. There's nothing really distracting about it there. It's very nice.
It was a rather fortuitous time when you set the challenge, actually, for the few people I know who are part of the community from Newcastle, because we did have the I think it's the National Speedboat Championships in Newcastle.
Okay, yeah.
They were postponed due to our lovely tropical cyclone that we had here earlier in the year, but it wound up falling right in the middle of this challenge.
Good timing.
So, it was great timing.
No, it's very nice. The image, I actually like that. It's quite well exposed, and he's got it all happening there.
Nice and crisp.
Yeah.
I do believe the horizon might be on a slight slope, but
just a little bit.
Could be just the shoreline.
Yeah.
The next shot, the speedboat's by Wigan Warrior, another nice crisp boat speeding through the water. Yeah, definitely. It's all well exposed and composed and so on. But given the colour of the boat, just adds to more excitement on. But he's done well here. Again, it's sharp, and you can't really fault it. The narrow crop, it seems to be very popular with the in this challenge I'm noting anyway, that the narrow crop is being popular throughout the challenge. I'm not quite sure.
It's probably a little bit too narrow for our liking. I mean, even in the press, we don't really crop too narrow because it sort of then becomes hard to use when they're trying to put words around it in a paper or a magazine. Unless, of course, that the magazine wants to crop it for a header or something.
I guess for me, I mean, I tend to even hate Instagram because I'm not a big fan of square crops. So, the odd crops are always kind of...
Yeah.
Well, I don't say they don't irk me, but they kind of challenge me and make me think twice about the composition.
Yeah, we aren't huge in the media on square crops either, unless, again, the paper needs to crop it for a particular space, but we try not to see square crops at all if we can avoid it.
Yeah, I'd imagine most of what you do would be processing your photos and delivering them in standard formatting and allowing the image editors at the newspapers to do the cropping how they like.
Yeah, exactly. Normally we try to give them as much space as we can where we can, and then sort of if the papers want to crop it a bit tighter, we'll leave it as it is. It's usually better for them to do it than for us to go too tight and then they can't use it at all.
And finally, we have 3 images here by Susan. I really admire Susan. Like every challenge we throw her way, she jumps in and has a crack. And she certainly did better than I did. I'm not game to share my panning images because I got some lovely background blur, but that was about it. But first up, we have a photo of a beautiful dog running past the brick wall in the background.
There's probably not enough speed for the way I normally prefer to see it. Again, like shooting people, shooting animals again is probably even harder. I shoot a lot of horse racing as well, and when you do pans with horses, you either get it or you miss it altogether, just because the way it's how they're moving. If their head moves too much and the body's sharp but their head's not, then we don't use it. It has to be as sharp as possible all the way through. But I mean, she's done okay there. I probably would have gone tighter. And if you sort of put your hand over it and put a square crop over with your hand sort of thing, you'll see if it's a bit tighter, it looks like there's more movement in the background. If you've gone in a bit tighter, that makes sense. Whereas just the way it is loose, there's not much of a panning thing going on.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think slightly slower shutter speed to blur that brick wall and then cropping it just kind of at the brick wall would have been a little bit nicer, kind of to really push that.
A bit tighter would have made it a bit better.
Shooting animals is quite tricky. Some of my panning attempts were trying to shoot birds, and that's even worse. I gave up quickly on that one because just trying to pick where birds are going to fly. Never mind waiting for birds to fly past.
Yes. Yeah. No, I can't say I've ever panned birds.
I don't recommend it unless you've got a few hours to kill. Yes. So. But next we have a cyclist here by Susan, which was cool to see just a cyclist. A bit of a street shot happening here. A bit more movement happening in the background too.
Yeah, a bit more movement there. Probably just a little overexposed. So probably if you underexpose a little bit, probably horizon's a little bit out. But otherwise, it's a good attempt at a pan. It's you always got to practice. So that's the thing. Like, there's no way you'll ever get it the first time.
And, of course, finally we have the return of the dog here by Susan. A bit more movement in the background, which is good, but possibly a little bit...
There's a bit of movement in the face, the dog's face. I mean, I actually don't mind that shadow at the bottom either. It's actually pretty good. I probably would have gone in a little bit tighter again, to straighten that horizon even. And, but just the dog's face is got movement in it, so it sort of takes away from the image. But, it's still worth trying.
It is interesting with the pan. I guess a lot of the time you can correct your horizon in post. With different things. Is correcting horizons as easy with a pan if you've don't have your camera quite straight when you're panning?
I mean, if there's space there and and there's room to move in the crop, definitely. But it's always best to try to get it straight in camera when you can, especially if you have time and there's no rush, no urgency, and you're just practicing. Or you're shooting something, like say you're shooting those speedboats all day long, for example. It should be pretty easy to get them straight, unless you go the really big tilt and you go for that effect, which we do sometimes in motorsport, but very rarely. It was big many years ago. 10 years ago, people used to do a lot of that really big tilt with the car going up hill or downhill.
Dutch angle going with the panning.
Yeah.
It'd be, combining techniques. It's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can do it every now and again, but it's not something we do a lot of. So that's why we try and keep everything straight.
I guess, again, that would be tricky with newspaper layouts too. If your subject's kind of going on an angle, it kind of limits what can happen with the layout.
Yeah, because if you crop it in from horizontal to a vertical and you've got a Dutch tilt, then you sort of, it sort of looks a bit weird. It starts looking all crooked and all over the place.
Well, before I get you to choose your winner, I might just ask you, what would be your biggest piece of advice for perfecting or improving a panning technique?
Lots of practice.
Lots of practice?
Definitely lots of practice. Find what's comfortable for you and how you stand. I've had people say, try this, stand this way and point your foot that way and hold your breath and all this sort of stuff. It's like you have to do what's comfortable for you. So if I could say, I could tell you how I do it, but it might not work for you.
I guess that's the same as a lot of things in photography.
Oh, exactly,
What technique works for one photographer is not going to come close to working for another photographer.
No, exactly, so. That's right. So it all comes down to practice, taking your time. Don't try and do half a second straight away, and work your way down. I usually say to people, start at 500 to sort of get a feel for your technique, and then start working your way down the shutter speeds down to 250, 125th, a 60th, and so on. So I've done pans at a third of a second, a sixth of a second, and they've been pretty sharp. So it's just a matter of practice. The light, the background, all those things all come into play when you're panning, and your exposure has to be bang on. If it's over, it just looks terrible. If it's too far under, and it can be hard to get back.
I guess if you don't have a speedboat race on every weekend, too, finding subjects to practice on would be interesting. What would you recommend for consistent practice? Just heading down to a main road and just practicing on cars as they drive past?
You could probably do that, but you can go to a cycling track or a velodrome or something where there's guys just having a social race or just a competition where there's no mediums, something. Just go along and just practice that way. Or to some athletics carnival or something where they might allow you in. Provide, obviously, got to be careful with all these rules with kids these days and stuff being photographed. Yep. So maybe go to an athletics carnival where there's adults. Something
with, I would suggest a race of some sort where it's a straight and predictable path rather than an AFL game where players are running everywhere. Yeah. You need some consistent pathing to practice. Yeah, I mean, if someone wants to do motorsport, you easily go down to Sandown Raceway when there's so many races there at Sandown Raceway during the year. So if someone lives in country Victoria, Winton, or anywhere where there's some sort of racetrack where there's events on every week, even like every 2 or 3 months, there's racetracks that have events that aren't national level, they're only domestic level for that state, and you just go along and as a spectator and buy your $5 ticket and just shoot over the fence and practice. Yeah, and I think that's it. I mean, I don't think it's as daunting as, jumping into street photography or something, because, I mean, the athletes and the drivers and people like that are there to do their job, and they're not going to be worried about that. No, it's not as in your face as street photography, so definitely it's a lot more accessible and easier to get your practice in. Oh yeah, there's plenty of racetracks where you can get really close to the action anyway. There's so many racetracks where we're standing there and just behind us are spectators with their own cameras just taking their own pictures as well. So yeah, you'd be surprised how easy you can get close to some tracks just from the spectator points and get some practice in. Well, you have one tough little job left, which is to announce the winner of the V3 Challenge number 2 for Painting and Movement, who will win and receive a awesome account by 500 pixels. Well, I have to say that the most outstanding one for this challenge was the one by Kevin D, the aircraft. Yellow aircraft. Oh yes, with the smoke trail. Yeah, the shot from above of the plane zipping through. Definitely, that's pretty much got it all happening there. The colours, the exposure, it's really well done, that one. Very nice. Well, congratulations, Kevin. Yes, congratulations. Well done. It's a very tricky technique, one which I'm going to have to get some more practice in, because it's one of those things now which I've attempted it and failed miserably at it, and it's going to bug me unless I can get a semi-decent shot. Keep trying, you'll get there. Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you very much, Rob, for your time. Thank you. And it's been a pleasure discussing these photos with you. No problem. It's been fun.